And welcome back to Sports Plus. There was once a high school running back in our town who, when you watched him, you thought to yourself, one day he'll play on Sundays. Tony Van Zant was bigger, stronger, and faster than anybody in our town. But he never got to the league, and he almost didn't get to age 25. Through the eyes of editor John King, we give you his story. Tony Van Zant.
Well, it's kind of like looking down a loaded gun.
The name's just synonymous with St. Louis high school football.
I thought he was one of the best backs I've ever seen coming out of high school.
Even the name, Tony Van Zant.
Ooh, brings chills.
Go!
Tony Van Zant is now a 44-year-old man coaching the running backs at Lincoln University. He's trying to resurrect a program that has been dead for years. He knows something about that, considering where he once was.
How close were you to killing yourself?
It was pretty close. Pretty close.
Tony Van Zant was the most electrifying talent our town has ever seen on a high school football field. Sprinter speed and a 6'3", 225-pound body carved out of granite. At Hazelwood Central, Van Zant galloped and glided his way to over 6,100 yards and 91 touchdowns. Parade magazine named him the National High School Player of the Year.
I compare Tony to an Adrian Peterson.
Kind of reminded me of Eric Dickerson.
It looked like a snake slithering through a field.
Every college in America wanted Van Zant, and the big-name coaches came to North County.
Lou Holtz,
Well, Tom Osborne.
Bo Sham back there at Michigan.
You know, Barry Switzer.
It was kind of amazing just to see those type of guys come around to my house and trying to get me to play football at the university. You know, I got a bunch of newspaper articles.
Steve Miller, who head coached at Hazelwood Central earlier in his career, was the Mizzou recruiter who convinced Tony to be a Tiger.
You know, when you have a great running back, it can change your program around. Example, Barry Sanders came out the same time as Tony did. And look what he did at Oklahoma State, you know, Heisman Trophy winner, look what he did in the NFL. Tony, we felt Tony could have been our salvation.
When they signed him, I mean, people that were around then, I mean, you could argue best running back ever to come out of St. Louis, and he's the kind of guy, you get a guy like that, he can save or resurrect an entire program.
But a funny thing happened to Van Zant on his way to the Heisman. He never got there. A few months after graduation, he agreed to play in a Lions Club high school all-star game in Jefferson City.
Well, it was just a regular toss play. There was a toss left. I was coming this way, and I went to slow down to go back, and it just buckling just gave out on me.
Newsflash, Mizzou top running back Tony Van Zant injured his knee.
It's like no one ever hit me or anything. It was just a freak accident.
I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here you got one of the most exciting running backs that ever came out of the St. Louis area. You hope it's not serious.
It was. The 4.3 40 speed and his Heisman aspirations were over. In the 1980s, torn-up knees were not timeouts for players, they were terminal.
It's like a racehorse, you know, when you break a racehorse's leg, sometimes they don't come back.
Tony Van Zant openly admits he wasn't as vigilant as he should have been in the rehabilitation of the left knee, which was injured on this field. However, in the end, it may not have mattered because 2 years later, while at Missouri, he ripped up his right knee. So the man who once used to be the rarest of running backs became a dime a dozen. Van Zant did play sparingly for Mizzou and finished his career with 52 carries and 1 touchdown.
See, every day I think about the same thing. You know, what happened if I wouldn't have got hurt? Where would I be at now? Those type of things. I ask myself those questions all the time.
The drinking and depression set in after college. Later, Van Zant became suicidal.
Did you ever purchase a gun?
No, nothing like that. It was just, you know, either pills or razor blades, things of that nature, but it was never nothing with a gun. You know, just not being able to do anything. Just sitting there and just go out to the store and grab something, come home, just sit in the dark and just drink and just think. Cry, why me? There was a lot of things I always said to myself, why me? And then, you know, one day I was at the store getting ready to buy something else, and I don't know who the gentleman was. It was an older guy. He asked me my name and everything, and I told him. And he said, you know what, I'm sorry to hear about your injuries, but you know, sometimes God has plans for people to do other things. Maybe it wasn't meant for you to play football. Maybe it's meant for you to go out here and be a coach, be a mentor, to help younger kids get better, to teach them things that you used to know.
Former Rams Super Bowl hero Mike Jones was a teammate of Van Zant's at Mizzou, and when he took the head coaching job at Lincoln this summer, one of the first calls he made was to Van Zant to be his assistant.
There's a guy that was the best of the best, you know, and then all that's taken from you with one play, and that's hard to take. And then you're only 18 years old on top of that. So, but I think that helps him become a better football coach, because now what he's went through, no kid in America has went through what he's went through.
So Tony Van Zant's new career is spent on the exact same field where his previous career ended. Every day on the same field where his dreams were shattered.
I'm here for a reason now. Back at university, the same place where I got hurt at. There's something that wants me to be a coach for kids and help out kids. And they brought me to a place where I got injured and it took half of my ability away, but I'm here doing it.
He was one of the best that I think Missouri has ever produced.
You got one of the most exciting running backs that ever came out of the St. Louis area.
Maybe, if not the best back ever to come out of the state of Missouri, it's got to be
Best running back ever to come out of St. Louis.
Then that pretty much tells what kind of player he was.